with a march, what was a peaceful march, south on University from Queen's Park. Then it got violent, and scuffles broke out with police, and our cameraman, Jeff Ducharme, was right in the middle of it, documenting it all for us, Jeff, and you were able to speak to some of the protesters as well.
Yeah, it was very confusing, as I said earlier. It was a lot of screaming, yelling, and they were yelling at police, they were yelling at the media. They just didn't like what they were seeing.
Okay, let's hear from the gentleman that you spoke to.
We are trying to outreach to Canadians that Congolese have made a choice. Canada government needs to respect the will of Congolese people. Canada makes $15 billion in Congo. It is about time for Canada to start respecting Congo.
So as you heard there, you know, they brought their protest to the U.S. consulate as well to our streets because they want help from the West to help recognize this election result. And Jeff, you were able to capture and document some arrests that took place. We heard from police that now they've confirmed 3 arrests took place. Just take us back and tell us about some of the scuffles that you saw.
Well, this is the first arrest. We do have video of both 2 of the arrests, but this is the first arrest here. When I first arrived on scene, ran up to the scene, this is what I ran into, was this gentleman being put into the cruiser. And this is where, as I mentioned earlier, this is where the situation just changed for violence. As you can see, these gentlemen were laying down in front of that police cruiser and weren't going to let it go. And police were just getting them out of the way because that cruiser was still moving at that point. And then this is where the crowd started to surround the cruiser. Police surrounded the cruiser, and then the crowd was around them. And they weren't going to let that cruiser out of there.
So these are the scuffles that you're seeing, and you know, we did hear that yes, they did surround a cruiser, that possibly one officer had dirt thrown in his face. That could have actually been the instigator that prompted the first arrest, and that led to this outbreak of emotion that happened here on the southbound lanes of University Avenue, right in front of the U.S. consulate between Dundas and Queen. Lots of people, high emotions because they're upset about, first of all, the election results in their home country of the Congo being delayed, the results being delayed, and then secondly, they believe wholeheartedly that this vote was rigged in favor of the current sitting president. And Jeff, tell us about a situation where, I believe this is it, where there was an injured protester and police had to actually try to block and surround that protester to get him help.
Yeah, this is where they're still in front of the car here, but just as this is all happening, I'm moving sort of back and getting out of the way. A gentleman fell down here, and he was on the ground. It's just in front of the cruiser here. It happens in a few minutes here as they're pushing their way. The cruiser stopped, but police are pushing them back. And as I move around, I come back around, and there is a gentleman laying on the ground, and police were asking people, please get out of the way. Please get out of the way. This man needs an ambulance.
Right, so this is
as I'm going back in here, this is where it happens. He's fallen down now, and he's in that crowd there, and they're trying to get he's kind of out of frame there, but they're trying to get everybody out of the way so they can get an ambulance in there. There was an ambulance standing by at the end of the street. I did see it. There was 2 paramedics beside a stretcher ready to come in, but they couldn't. They eventually, later on in this video, you'll see in a little bit, they actually pick the gentleman up. He's able to get up under his own steam, and they take him off to the side. In a little bit, you'll see an officer kneeling down, and the gentleman in the white shirt there, he's kneeling down with them, and they, in a few short minutes, they help. It's hard to see because the crowd's sort of surrounding, but they do help him up on his own steam and do take him off to the side.
Tell me, Jeff, what you thought about the police response, because you know, we know it started as a peaceful protest that sort of exploded into something very different. You know, you've covered the G20, you've covered other protests, you know, and police came under fire during the G20 for how they handled protesters. Did you see any scuffles that you know, raised an eyebrow with you?
No, not at all, actually. The gentleman was under arrest, and they were taking him away, and then the crowd just came at them, and obviously they pushed back. And that officer right there, you saw him push back. The gentleman had a placard on a stick, and the officer didn't like where the stick was pointing at him, so he pushed him back. As you can see, this officer's yelling, please get out of the way. I need we need to get an ambulance in here. The crowd is such a small area. Everybody was like on top of each other, and they're pushing back. One, trying to get that cruiser out of there, and two, trying to get that gentleman to an ambulance.